Let's talk about scope. What is scope? To put it in simple words, you can think of scope as the registry on which your variables and so on are registered. So if you create a variable and then you use it somewhere else in your code, like we've been doing that all time long, how does JavaScript actually know that when you print the variable a, that this is the variable you declared 2 lines before? It does know it because both operations take place in the same scope. And the scope is therefore very important. Basically, JavaScript knows 2 different scopes, though there is a third one on which I won't dive deeper into here, right? Because it's not really that interesting with ES5, so the current JavaScript version. We have the global scope by default, and global scope refers to our window object. Now with window object, I mean that if you think about that, our code runs in the browser. The topmost level on which we can be is the window, the browser window. And indeed, JavaScript does have this window object, as you will learn later in the module about the document object model and how all of that works together. So this is the global scope, the highest level to which we can go. And by default, all our variables and so on which we create are registered in this global scope and therefore are available throughout our application. Though we also have local scope nested inside the global scope. Local scope is created when we create a function. Inside this function, we have a different scope. So the function has its own scope. And this means that variables defined inside a function are kind of independent from the variables outside of that function. And we're not able to access variables from within a function outside of that function too. However, it is possible to use global scope variables or global scope elements inside local scope, so we have this direction flow, but it's not possible to use elements defined in local scope outside of it. Now, since this is very theoretical, why don't we just have a look at it in practice?